Good evening and welcome to the Minions of the Zoo Saturday edition. I'm your host and keeper of the Airy channel, and with me tonight we have Minions 2. Sora Luna.
Hello.
DrFunctional.
I'm Minion 1.
Yeah, Minion 1 and Minion 2. It's very Seussian.
Beep, boop, beep, boop. And we're both Canadians too.
I don't know. It kind of pisses me off when people co-opt childhood classics for political reasons. Like, I saw this one thing where somebody had Winnie the Pooh talking to Piglet, and Winnie the Pooh was talking about smashing the patriarchy and all this stuff, and I'm just like, I have this irrational desire to punch somebody in the face. I kind of feel like it should just be off limits. That you should just not do that. Or anybody who does do that, you just go, you're just a piece of shit, and ignore them.
You're asking a lot from stupid.
Yeah. Yeah, we can just ignore them until they come to take our money at gunpoint in the form of taxes. Other than that, I mean, we can largely just ignore them. And I do. I do. So anyway, enough about me. Sora.
Hi.
Hi. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Are you rested? You feeling okay now?
Oh, I am totally jet lagged. It's been a hard week.
Okay. Back at work on Monday?
The 8 shows. On Tuesday. I was at work on Tuesday.
Oh, God. So you flew back. You got 1 day of buffer, right, to sort of recover, and then you were back at work on Tuesday? Ugh.
Yeah.
No.
And you have a long weekend. Yay!
Yeah.
Yay!
So I don't know. I didn't talk to you about this beforehand, but anything that would be of general interest that wouldn't be too revealing that you'd like to share about your trip? See anything crazy? Like buildings falling into each other? Or
No, there was an anti-LGBT protest on my last full day in the capital city, which pissed me off because it delayed my bus as I was going around the city, and it was extremely hot. And I was just getting angry from the heat. And of course, I was like, these assholes here. But also at the same time, it's like, oh, great. So, I did ask my godmother, like, was there some sort of parade, like, for LGBTQs that went there protesting? And she's like, I have no idea what's going on. Because as they were doing the protests, I was trying to Google or look on Twitter and stuff, and notifications weren't coming up. So who knows
No.
where they were posting. So, but I kind of tried to stay as much away from them as possible, and they ended up basically getting on top of me as I was exiting a patisserie that I was eating at, and I was like, screw you guys. had to kind of go in the opposite direction of home for a little bit. And it was all fire and brimstone and Jesus is our Lord and whatever, that kind of stuff.
Yep. How do you know you're right?
Very annoying.
Read it in a book. Where'd you get the book? From my parents. They were quite adamant about its accuracy. Okay, well, if you were the one that went up the mountain and God handed you the stone tablets directly, I think you'd have more credibility. It's but to sort of and people can believe whatever they want to believe, but to try to basically say my holy book gives me authority to determine how the secular world works. That seems like kind of an aggressive stance to take. Like this is on you now too. It's like, oh, wait a second. There's a whole bunch of good shit in the Bible about, because they sort of, because it's a product of the times, right? The Romans were big back then, and they sort of knew that they had to coexist with these people. And so it really was a gospel that was very appealing to the people of the time who were sort of downtrodden. Like, we know you got to live with Caesar. He's kind of a dick. But after all this, it's going to be totally worth it because salvation, right? It's an amazing book, but it doesn't give you the right to tell other people how to live their lives. Unless they're in your congregation. It's that proselytizing thing that just like, I don't get it. And then stopping traffic. I think Sora is going to be with me on this. Anybody who stops traffic should be treated as a potential carjacker and be met with extreme
100%.
force. Yeah.
I think they were all of them were terrorists.
Yeah. If somebody road
And should
rages,
all be tried as sorry?
well, somebody cuts you off or brake checks you and then gets out of the car and starts shaking their fist. You don't know if they're just some crazy person or if they're going to take all your stuff. I think you should be able to run them over. It's just it's a modest proposal.
100%,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah.
Are you coming out of your car? Why are you getting out of your car?
Yeah. Because you don't know what they're after. You can't mind read. Just gun them down. It's fine. I feel like I'm filling in for Skep.
You chose your end.
Yeah.
You chose how you wanted to leave the
It's a modest
little blue
proposal.
marble.
Yeah. No, I actually kind of low key believe this because if some eco protester or protester in general just decides to block a roadway, how do you know it isn't a pretext to something violent? You don't know. Nobody should be blocking the roadway. Nobody who's not like the police for public safety reasons should be blocking a roadway. We should treat them all like carjackers. Because they might be.
I like this.
Yeah.
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 Well, not even that. Maybe they just want to harm you, right?
Yeah.
Well, you're immediately taking an aggressive stance by, there's no collision or anything like that. It's just obviously an incident of like rage on the road, also known as road rage for you kids out there.
Mm-hmm.
So to get out of your car and then approach the other person, that's already a state of aggression. You're taking an aggressive stance. However, you might not be enacting violence. You're putting the potential for violence into the ether because the person you're approaching doesn't know you, doesn't know what you're going to do. So your intentions might be relatively pure, and you just want to give them a piece of your mind. Pro tip: don't do that.
Yeah. Well, there are places where you really have no stand your ground doctrine supporting you, right? But you literally are trapped. You're in traffic. You can't get anywhere. There's no way to go backwards because there's cars there. You can't really, get away side to side. I mean, how do you can't. All there is are people in front of you who may have ill intent. I say run them over. Modest proposal. So how do you feel? You feel good about running people over too, right? Functional?
Yeah, I mean, it would really require the circumstance, like you said. If it's a protest and things are looking like they might be a little, like, I don't really think it's carjacking. I think it's kidnapping. I think it's you're impeding the person's freedom to move.
Yep.
And escape a situation they don't want to be in that you yourself created. And then, yes, I do believe if you feel the need that you need to get out of there because things might be going sideways, or you're just terrified because these people are enacting a minor form of violence or a potentiality of violence. Yeah, fuck.
Yeah.
If they're going to be in front of you and they're on a road or a highway or something, and you're in a car, sorry, pal, you're in the way. You're like, I don't know how it is down there, Harry, but here, if you're a pedestrian in the middle of a roadway, you're already breaking a law.
Yep.
You're breaking the Highway Traffic Act of Canada. You can't do that. So if you want to just put the pedal to the metal, I'm right there behind you. Not if it's like, maybe it might be the case of like, oh, there might be one crazy person who, isn't mentally well and they're, doing stuff on the roadway. That's a little bit different. That I don't think you should intentionally try to like just gun it for them. But I think we're of the similar opinion that if there is a situation where there's a potentiality of you being trapped, then yeah, get the hell out of there. Hi, Serenity.
Hi, Serenity.
Hello.
Hey, Serenity.
Hello.
I'm sure you've seen these videos of idiots who go up to like the horse-mounted guards around Buckingham Palace and stuff like that.
Oh, the palace guard.
And then they start messing with the horse or getting in the way of the guards. Isn't that beautiful when they get checked?
It's like those are combat trained horses. Like, I know the training they have to go through. You're lucky they didn't get you back by the back of your neck and swing you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love those videos. Those are great.
Well, I mean, to be completely honest, the best thing a horse can do if it attacks you is bite you.
Mm-hmm.
It sucks, and you may break skin just through sheer force, but it's not deadly unless they go for the jugular, which most horses don't. If they hit you with their front hoof, they can slice you open. If they hit you with your back foot, with their back hooves, it's blunt force trauma of nothing that you will ever know the pain of.
Yeah.
It's just, it's like, you guys are idiots. Like,
Yeah.
stop touching the goddamn horses. And most of them aren't Americans either. That's the reason why it's really funny when, like, because there was there were several of them that were British people who were doing it, and like people in the comments before they either didn't have the sound up or whatever, just assumed they were Americans, and it was like, no.
Yeah, you should ought to know better.
Well, it's like, it's British. Like, you all watch The Tattoo, both in Edinburgh and London when the royals go about. You know how well trained these horses are.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
They're the Palace Guard. They are a militarized unit to protect the royal family and Buckingham Palace.
oh yeah.
There's signs everywhere. Don't approach, don't talk to, don't touch any of them. The horses, the guards, but these people, they're so stupid. They're so self-absorbed that they think, oh, well, nothing will happen to me. I'm glad when the horse fucking checks them.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is that it's better than when the human checks them, because then there could be the of it's an animal, you idiot. The thing is, because if a human checks them, yes, the human soldiers will check them sometimes, but it's almost.
But they have a lot of
Political.
restraint.
Yeah, no, they do.
Because
but
they
the-
will do the, get away from the palace!
Yep.
Step away from the guard! You know, and they will try to verbally shake the shit out of you to get you to stop. But I have seen them take down a couple of people who took it even too far, because when they get into a situation where it looks like they're trying to go for the palace guard's weapon,
Mhm.
I've seen a guy like karate chop someone in the throat and drop them.
Well, most of them are SAS.
Yeah,
Like, these are not low-ranking dudes. These are not grunts. These
no, they're
are
just like your Secret Service.
well, they're a little bit more than Secret Service. They have a little bit more age to them.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, not just because they're not wearing, you know, black suits and shades and earpieces, and they're wearing the traditional garb, and they might look a little funny compared to modern standards. They're still very highly trained
Oh yeah.
guards who are on alert 24/7 because that's their job. Don't fuck around. You don't want to find out.
Also, Assassin, if you actually look at some guides online, most the tourists who are hated the most aren't Americans. It's actually the Chinese tourists who are hated the most.
Yeah.
We are just, they don't like the fact that we're loud. Supposedly, even though I've heard Brits be just as loud as Americans, which is always
Yeah.
funny to me when they're like, they're loud. Shut the fuck up. Germans are apparently hated too. Like, Germans are.
That's for a lot of other reasons too.
I know, but. What,
I-
Mike R?
Really?
What, did you say something earlier? I'm sorry. I've been trying to get everybody, but my ads button's acting like a bitch. Hello. I didn't mean to, bud. But yeah, no, it's funny to watch. It's like, and those are not tiny horses either. Those are the big boys.
Yeah, they're war horses.
But they're usually warm bloods, but yeah, they're big horses. They're drafts.
I just realized I muted myself, and it's like, no wonder nobody's responding to me.
I was like, why did
Jesus.
Harry stop talking?
Yeah, why? It's so nice. All of a sudden, it's very calm, and we should say hi to everybody in chat.
Yeah,
So
that's what
Skep's,
I've been
is not.
typing.
Well, I know you have been typing, but let's see. We have Green Badger Outdoor, Critical
Critical
Thinkers Guild.
Guild.
See, I like that. Critical. That's a good handle.
I actually like your avatar. Sora,
Kiever
man.
Dam, Mike R,
Yep.
Thank you.
Johnny Hellcat,
Hellcat.
Johnny, of course, yes.
yeah, and Assassin of the Gray. Okay, cool.
Assassin who tries to supply me with explosives, and that's not what you want to do right now, bud.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Assassin. I had Mexican food twice today, and it was delicious. But anyway, I think that might be our one big disagreement, he and I, is just about whether Mexican food is worth
And
eating.
my car.
Yeah. Oh, I said
we
Mike
said
R.
My car.
Yeah.
Yeah, he said my car the first time, but I
Yeah.
also said my car too.
Ah.
No, that's okay. I think we
Sorry.
got
Now,
everybody.
Now, Mike, you got 3 greetings.
Completely zoned out for a bit.
Yeah.
So there's a comet, a naked eye comet visible right now.
Yeah.
And I really wanted to go see it. And as I was sort of driving home, I was driving along the coast, and I was in Santa Cruz, and I just see this wall of fog moving in. It's like, oh crap, because essentially the comet is about 10 degrees above the horizon at 7 p.m. and just a little bit to the left of due west. And it's like that is not, if there's fog coming in off the ocean, Central California, you are not going to see, you're not going to see the comet. So I still, in all my life, with all the time I've spent going outside and looking up at things, I've never seen a naked eye comet. Or a tornado. I keep trying to see these things, and I always miss out.
Usually, if you can see a tornado, Harry, that's not a good thing.
Well, I mean, depends. I mean, if it's an F5 or an F3, maybe not such a good thing.
Well,
but
I was about to say, they can turn on a dime, so trust me, I come from a state where they can show up sometimes.
yeah, they can do some pretty cool stuff. Well, I told you I was actually in Sunnyvale when an F2 tornado touched down. And that was big fun. I was actually sheltering, trying to protect myself and my car from it, only to realize that very loud noise was a tornado like 100 yards away from me. And I would have given my left nut to see that tornado. And I completely missed it because I was being practical and safe.
God forbid.
Jesus.
Or you actually went to go look at it, yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, I would have had an amazing view. Or if I hadn't actually been sick that day and had gone to work, I would have been able to see it. Everybody at work saw it. Everybody saw it but me. The one guy who really, really wanted to see it didn't see it.
The universe is against you, Harry.
Yeah, I was looking
swear
off
to
in the
God.
distance, and I thought, oh, this is California. That can't be what I think it is. And it's like, why is the sky green? It's like, oh, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, okay.
So,
For people who are either planning on moving to Tornado Alley or with how the weather's going around the world, we're just going to talk. If the sky turns green, run for fucking cover.
yeah,
Like,
the sky was green. There were thunder. Okay, so it was like an April day. The morning was sunny. It was sunny, and the ground just soaked up all of that heat. And then a bunch of cold air came right in over the top and overran it. And all this potential energy was just sitting there. And suddenly, what you had were these huge thunderheads. This is not normal for California. They had like these 40,000-foot echo tops. And in between them was sun. So the ground was still heating, air was moving, and apparently the wind was in just the right direction that we spawned an F2, which is like a once in 50-year event around here. And I missed it. I mean, I heard it. I was in it practically, but I didn't see it. And somehow I feel that doesn't count.
They usually go down the valleys around here, so if you're on the right kind of mountaintop, you could usually see the top of them.
Mm-hmm. I'd settle for a funnel cloud. I mean, I'm desperate. I want to see something rotate.
I've watched an F5 tear through a valley where it only took out trees, which was thank God.
Oh, an F5?
Holding up
wow.
the middle fingers.
Yeah.
You can rotate on those. No, just kidding. Yeah, the comet, I mean, I really want to see this, but it's fucking cloudy as all balls.
Same.
Yeah.
However,
Yeah.
and I've shown it to the people on the panel,
Mhm.
I was taking pictures the other day.
Do you want me to show the
Aurora.
picture?
Sure.
Okay, I can do that.
And miraculously, there was a meteor streaking across the sky as I took one of the photos. So I posted it to them, and it was really, really freaking cool. My friend took a couple shots with a proper camera when he was downtown. Got one of like the CN Tower being backed by the Aurora Borealis. It was
That was
really
very
cool.
beautiful.
Okay,
There it
here's your
There it is.
picture.
That's just from down the street from me. So yeah, I was just walking around trying. You can see it was a pretty cloudy off in the distance, so I wasn't
That's
expecting
a
much, but
wallpaper.
there was-
That's
Wait,
a
what?
wallpaper. That's a wallpaper
Oh,
right there.
My
Make a
phone
wish.
is like 8 years, 10 years old, so it's not the greatest camera. But
it's
I
still
mean,
good.
it was pretty interesting because like I didn't even know that I took this picture until after I took a series of pictures. I went and looked
Yep.
at them. I'm like, holy shit! Holy shit!
Is it
look
okay
at
to show
this."
your friends one too?
Sure, yeah, for sure.
Okay. Well, I just
Everybody
didn't know
knows.
what
It's
rights
pretty
you had.
common knowledge. I'm in Toronto, so.
No, I was just wondering what arrangements you had with your friend. That's all.
Oh, it's fine. Yeah,
That
so
one was
he
cool,
was
too.
downtown Toronto. He took some pictures of that, and that was probably one of his best ones.
Yeah. I feel like
Amazing that we're being bombarded by so much solar emissions, and like this stuff is just appearing.
no,
with the
it's
end
actually
time.
normal. It's actually normal. We're approaching solar maximum. We live next to a variable star. This is actually very normal.
Hi, Cryptic.
It's normal in the sense that it's nothing to worry about, but it's not exactly normal. It's not like an
Yeah,
everyday
it's still cool.
occurrence.
It's cool to see, but it's not something to worry about.
Yeah, it's rare
Yeah.
enough that it's like, oh wow, we're so far south, but we now get the northern lights, which happens, every decade or so.
Which space question. Our little mini moon that's around us right now,
See?
it's gonna like do terminal velocity and then fling out,
Yeah.
or is it gonna come down to us?
It's gonna fling out.
So we're not gonna see it leave, like by the naked eye, I mean.
No, well, I mean, it's
No.
like the size of a school bus. You'd be hard pressed. You wouldn't be able to see it with the naked eye,
Aw,
regardless. Yeah, it's
I know, but
still
still be
counts.
cool.
It's doing
Well, we
its
have-
best.
We have 2 moons right now though, so hey.
Yeah. Well, speaking of moons, by the way, with the 4 people that we have here tonight, I feel like I can really not tug on the reins of control too much, and we can just not worry about going through the spreadsheet. So let's just try to have a good time, and I'll try not to do anything too depressing. Like I have like this whole thing, which I know that Skep would love and Prospero would love it even more. I don't think any of you are going to care, so like, we'll just like
Probably
set
not.
that aside. I am going to make fun of Viva and Barnes briefly though, so because
Who?
the law tube lawyers, Viva Fry and yeah.
Oh yeah, okay.
I'm gonna make a
Go
little
for it.
comment. I'm gonna make a little comment about them, but I'm gonna forego some of the way more
Vitriolic statements.
no, not so much vitriolic, but I've got some stuff that most people would think is not important legal minutia. Well, maybe we'll talk
Gotcha.
about some of it because I'm just gonna talk about it briefly. The Trump appellate court appeal on his fraud charge is interesting. And it's interesting to me that the press is not covering it. I mean, they really, the amount of press coverage is extremely small for what's going on this appeal of the fraud charge, the one that Letitia James went after him that's now at almost $500 million. The judges were having none of it.
That's good.
Yeah, 3 out of the 5 judges on the panel, at least. I'm not too sure. There were 2 female judges of color who were not saying quite as much, but the 3 old white men on the panel had many comments for both sides of the case as they were making their arguments. I mean, it didn't seem like they were necessarily siding with one person or the other, but the amount of criticism that they dumped on the city of New York lawyers, Letitia James's people, was definitely more.
I'm amazed that Letitia James hasn't gotten indicted in what all the shit that's hit Adam Rice and them.
Or at least
right.
started a major investigation into their
Yeah.
conduct.
Well,
Because
yeah, it's funny that you would mention that because at the
Is that a
end,
good segue?
at
that
the
leading
end
to-
of their testimony, it kind of sort of sounds like the New York City people are saying, "Please don't sanction us. Please don't sanction us. Please don't sanction us,"
Sanction 'em,
because they
sanction
just
'em.
sort of know that their boss really screwed up. Well, here's just a sample of how it went.
Are there
gonna
any
get
cases
copyright?
No.
where the language harm or threat to harm limits the scope of the Attorney General?
No, Your Honor, not as to liability and not in cases like this where what the Attorney General is seeking is injunctive relief and disgorgement. Greenberg.
Yeah, okay. So basically, the nice lady in the middle is saying, is there a limiting principle to this? Do you really think
Yeah.
that this law should be applied in this type of case? Because this clearly wasn't what was in mind. And she's saying, no, we can do whatever the hell we want. and injunctive relief of what? Nobody was harmed. Nobody was harmed by any of this stuff, right?
And you can tell, like, the lady judge at the end, even she's like, oh, Jesus.
Yeah, I
not
think
to
everybody
say that.
realizes this is a
the New York
shit
Court
show.
of Appeals and Ernst & Young from this court make clear that reliance by a counterparty and actual harm to
Honey,
a
don't get
counterparty
sassy.
are
Do
not
not
She's being
justified
sassy.
for
Yeah,
liability
don't get-
for
no.
any of the claims here. And remember to think about the illegality claims as well, because it's not just
Yeah, we
fraud.
don't have to harm anybody. It's fine.
So for the illegality claims, you look to the underlying penal law provisions, and for something
Yeah.
like issuing false financial statements,
Just use
there's
letter
no
of the law.
requirement for reliance. There's intent.
You're gonna
and there's
love the next
materiality,
guy.
which was proved at trial. But if someone issues a false financial statement to their counterparty, the counterparty gets it and is not fooled, picks up the phone and calls the enforcement authorities. the crime has still been committed, even though
Yeah, but in this case, they got it and didn't give a crap because they knew the client was good for it. Who cares what Trump evaluates it at? They know he's good for the loan.
Yeah. But did you see the middle judge lady like look at the other guy like she was like, "Oh, no." She's like, "Keep your mouth shut."
Well,
Like,
okay.
Shut up.
the guy to the right of her and the guy to the left of her are coming up.
the counterparty didn't rely on it at
I think she
all.
heard the bald guy
You're
grumble.
pointing to Ernst & Young, you're pointing to First American. Ernst & Young, you're dealing with the collapse
he's the
of
first
Lehman
one to
Brothers. First
Yeah.
American, you're dealing with an action brought against an appraiser who overvalued properties at the behest of a lender perpetrating a scheme
Oh.
to induce
God, he's from
unsophisticated
Jersey.
consumers
No, you
into
can't help
taking
it.
out home loans that they
Lender.
could not afford. It hardly
Lender.
seems that justifies bringing an action to protect Deutsche Bank against President Trump, which is what you have here. I mean, you've got two really sophisticated parties in which no one lost any money, and that was the point of my initial question. Every case that you cite involved where there was damage to consumers, damage to the marketplace. You've got a scheme to get unsophisticated consumers to take out home loans. You got a collapse of Lehman Brothers. You don't have anything like that here.
Well, first,
Yeah, I mean, do you hear the tone this guy's taking? He's like,
He's like,
what the
"You're a
fuck
dumb
are we doing
bitch."
here?
Yeah, she's like, "You're a dumb bitch." He's
Yeah,
like,
you're
"You're a dumb
wasting our
bitch."
time.
Yeah, time wasting
"Sit your
bitch
ass
says
down."
what?
Yeah, it's like,
No.
and she's also getting sassy with them. Like she's treating them like they don't know the law, and it's like, honey, that is not the voice you take with the appellate court.
No, I actually am. I'm actually extremely encouraged by this. Now, I mean, obviously, I don't think most people have the patience to go through too much of this, but there's this one more little part. The guy out to the left of the second guy from the left has got something to say here.
first of all, Your Honor, the statute doesn't require that whatsoever
Oh,
for
did she
liability.
not almost
and the
laugh?
statute is
Oh
written
my
broadly
God.
because the legislature wants the Attorney General to go in and stop fraud and illegality.
I hope you get to
Whether
this
An
it's
example of
barred,
what you're
bitch.
talking about, I think, is People versus Allen, isn't it? There it was just a dispute among partners.
Yes,
it
and the
didn't affect the
investors-
public, I mean,
go ahead.
at all. But I think you hear underneath all these questions, the question of mission creep. Has 6312 morphed into something that it was not meant to do? And that's something you must address because there has to be some limitation on what the Attorney General can do in interfering in these private transactions, as Justice Friedman said, that where people don't claim harm. So what is the limiting principle?
Well, I'll say two things, Your Honor.
Yeah, but she's just an idiot, and I'll spare you from the rest of it. Yeah, the New York Appellate Court is having none of it.
Yeah. Well, it's just like she almost laughed at one point.
Yeah.
Like how much of an like anybody can be arrogant. It has nothing to do with genitalia or gender or anything like that. But I hope you get disbarred, you dumb idiot.
It's not like
Because-
Letitia James is their best, and she is sending these people who certainly aren't the best either. They're not
Well,
sending their best.
Well, they're not sending their best, but at the same time, it's kind of understandable the office isn't filled with the best now that we know what Rice was doing and probably the governor, probably the mayor before him was doing, and the governor before him. Like, knowing all of this stuff we know now that was going on in New York, and it can happen in any state, so this is not a purely New York thing. But, like, knowing all the stuff we know now, especially with all of the indictments that are coming down, it's like, no wonder you didn't have the best, because you didn't want them to look where you didn't want them to look. So you made
Yeah.
sure they looked in the directions, and you made sure it was people that was controllable.
You could shine a flash a
Laser
shiny
pointer.
light over here, and yeah, laser pointer. And they're like, oh, let's go that way, go that way. Pay
Laser
no
pointer?
attention to
You
the,
mean like how
walk
functional
past
faked that meteor? Oh, I'm sorry. What?
fake meteor?
He's talking about the comic.
Yeah, how
that
you
have a
faked
picture
that
of.
meteor. No, I'm sorry. Actually, I was going to
He's
post a link in the chat, but you know what? It won't let me post this link.
And it's probably because it's a live stream. It gets finicky about other live streams going in live streams.
It's not posting a
this,
link to a live stream. It's literally not letting me post the link to the National Desk article. I will maybe put some. If people,
comment?
if in chat, if people care, let me know, and I will post it after the show in the show
Well,
notes
Harry,
or something.
post it in side chat if you can, and I'll see if one of us can post it since we're all mods.
Yeah, let's give it a try. Maybe it's just me being incompetent. This happens.
I highly doubt that.
Ah,
What did you just say?
all right. There, it's
Oh,
in
boy.
private chat. Yeah, it does not like that. It does not like that link. Anyway,
Yeah, it's too long.
so
You're
I
over by 56 characters. That's always why it doesn't.
or
like it.
carrots or carrots. Yeah,
carrots.
absolutely.
The new British way.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to find a better link for it. Okay.
All right. So yeah, I mean, this is like timely because by the time next week comes around, maybe they'll put out a decision. Maybe
Hopefully.
they will completely overturn that ruling. That would be great. What would really be cool is if they actually bitch slap Letitia and her crew for what's
And
obviously
Engeron.
yeah. Well, this is the idea. What is the limiting principle? So if you follow Supreme Court stuff, they'll say, okay, so somebody asks the Supreme Court to do something, and they say, okay, well, we understand the argument we're making, but what is the limiting principle? Where does the law end in its ability to apply what you're asking for? It's like, have you thought about how this could be used? And if you ask them to make a judgment that literally has wide, sweeping ramifications, they are much more hesitant to make a decision like that. If they know that basically they're effectively creating new law that is boundless, right? That could just screw everything up because they don't want that sort of thing to happen. So when a judge asks you what's the limiting principle behind what you're saying, it has specific technical meaning.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And that's the question a good judge should be asking.
Yeah,
And-
I'm no legal expert
Yes.
or very well versed in the law, but I would think that given the fact that not only was Donald Trump not the one who came up with this value, this appraised value, it was a hired appraiser, first of all. Secondly, that the appraisal value, and not just them, but also Forbes. Forbes published an article at the time of the sale of this property that they said the value was this amount as well. So you have, I and maybe somebody here can answer the question: how is Trump on the hook for someone else's appraisal and a news article that also didn't get the value correctly?
It's one of those things that he's on the hook, but he's not on the. That's part of what the court proceedings are for, is to see if they've overstepped their bounds on that. It's like when the IRS initially comes after you if you've not paid certain taxes. They can do an appraisal for how many taxes that you have missed, and then usually you hire either a tax-based lawyer or an accountant or both, which is usually recommended. They go through it with the IRS and go, no, this doesn't count, this doesn't count, this doesn't count. You go back and forth, and then there's the actual amount. They are doing what you're supposed to do when you negotiate for a car, but they're doing the opposite, where they're going high. So this way they can, even though it'll get knocked down, they can still get something, which is what they're doing.
Right.
And that's the problem, is that they're going high because they're going to try, one, to defame publicly, and two, to see if they can just get even a tenth of that out of the court. So this way they can go, because then even if he does, air quotes, win, they can go, well, that shows you how bad the system is. And so it's a game of PR and negotiating tactic bullshit and just all that crap. It's a very shady shyster bullshit way of doing it, but that's what they're doing.
And we can say that because that's our word. Yeah, like maybe because like that's something I didn't consider, but something I do consider, because I don't remember the exact wording from Engeron, but a question was asked by a juror, and it was regarding what I was sort of alluding to. And Engeron, in not so many words, basically said, well, we're not here to discuss that. We're here to find this person. He didn't use the word guilty, but like liable, culpable, one of those kinds of words. And immediately when I read that in the article, I was like, okay, this is a complete railroading. This is bullshit, like to the nth degree. So I was just wondering if there was more to it that I hadn't considered. That is one thing. I also, obviously think that it's, a sham, but something to tie up a political opponent while, all this stuff goes on.
Well, scuttlebutt is that Letitia's thinking about a run for mayor.
Oh boy.
I mean,
Eric Adams is going to be out of a job soon because his party turned on him.
Yeah, well, being mayor of like these big cities, it's like I'm not really sure there's a whole lot of upside. Being a governor, you might end up becoming a senator or a president or something, but Being mayor of like why would any sane person want to be mayor of New York City right now?
Well, because a lot of them want to be Rudy Giuliani, but the Democrat side.
Yeah.
Go down in the history books as like
As
this was a
bringing
great
New
mayor.
York back. Because that's the thing, like, yeah, Rudy Giuliani isn't exactly the most outstanding person right now, but he will always be known as the man who brought New York City back.
Yeah, and it's really not that hard to just clean up Times Square. It's a cesspool. Let's have it not be a cesspool.
Well, it's
Easy.
like, I remember hearing a metric that Los Angeles has more square mileage and equal population in New York City, but they have like a fourth of the police force. So New York has more police that they can do a bunch of shit with, and you can clean house and get rid of the unions. And actually clean house and take care of stuff. That would take care of the first bit. But they're all
Yes
they're all
and
cowards.
no. A lot of the air quotes good part of the police force, they're all gone because of the COVID resignations and all that. I mean, New York has become a sanctuary city. The police force has been completely replaced by incompetent boobs.
Well, if you talk to anybody, they think the police were always incompetent boobs. And that's kind of the problem.
Well,
is
I mean,
that-
you brought up Rudy Giuliani, who created the anti-gang task force that really cleaned up parts of the city. They don't have that anymore.
They don't, but that's the thing. Rudy Giuliani created it. It can be done. It's just you have a massive uphill battle. The problem is that, as with everything, and this is a tale as old as time, this is not a modern thing. This has been going on for millennia, for every city across the planet. You have people who care more about having the power and the money than actually doing the job. Like Giuliani, part of the other reason why he stands out is because, yeah, he got the power and the money, but the man also did his work. Like, he did as much as he could. He cleaned up Times Square. Because if you look at pictures and videos of Times Square before Giuliani came in, it looked like dog shit.
Those are the times I went to New York. Yeah.
But that's the thing is that it's the same thing with Chicago. It's the same thing with Los Angeles.
Same thing here.
You have mayors who don't care. They just want the power, the privilege, and the money.
And their name in the history books of, hey, I was the mayor of New York City back in
and it doesn't matter
2004.
Well, the thing is, now it doesn't matter because until someone does what Giuliani did, no one's going to outshine him. Bloomberg is going to be known for the man who tried to tax 16-ounce sodas. Cuomo, well, we all know what Cuomo is known for. Adams is now going to be known for the guy who got indicted, who was supposedly a former cop and was going to be a hard ass and then turned into a giant coward.
Yeah. The vegan Turkish money siphon, Eric Adams.
So it's one of those things where it's kind of like, unless it's Letitia Adams, or Letitia, whatever the fuck her name is. James. Unless they're an even more F up, which from Chicago we've seen that can happen. There's nowhere to go for the mayor but up.
Yeah.
Like, at this point, as much as I hate to say it, I kind of want the mob to come back because the mob will clean that city up faster than the mayors probably will. Because you need the city to run smooth, otherwise you can't get work done. But
you don't get paid, yeah.
It's like, and I kind of want that to happen to Chicago, too. Like, can the mob bosses just come back and smack these people around and get to work?
Can I complain about something completely unrelated? I mean, there's one Mac user here other than me, and that's you, Serenity, right? You use a Mac for some of your stuff.
Me and Sora both. Sora uses a laptop, too. That's
okay, Sora's dealing with dogs. But did either of you upgrade to Sequoia?
No, not yet.
Okay. They've done something which I think is sort of a ripoff of whatever Era does, the Apple of the Windows desktop, where when you move a window and sort of move it into the side of the screen, it makes it go full size on you. Like if you move it into a corner or if you move it onto the side, it'll take up half the screen. Like this is supposed to be convenient. No, I was trying to move the spreadsheet out of the way so that I could keep running the show. And it took over my whole screen. It's like, oh good. I love constantly resizing windows so they don't take over my whole screen. Just a little bit of a whinge. Just a little bit of a whinge.
I think I think it was doing that. I don't think it was as sensitive on the past one because I do that on my Air my MacBook Air.
Yeah.
But I'm so used to being aware of that from messing with a Windows gaming computer that I'm careful even on my Mac.
It's a tad disconcerting when all I can suddenly
yeah.
see is the spreadsheet on a 34-inch monitor.
Oh, that's terrifying.
It's like, ah!
Oh, it's like
They're coming to get me. So let's talk about another mayor while we're here, because you all know how much I love talking about Super Mayor Tiffany Henyard, right? Why is there a okay, I don't know why that's there. Let's see if this will load. Dalton Mayor Tiffany Henyard facing eviction from home, court documents reveal. Turns out Super Mayor hasn't been paying her own personal rent.
oh, surprise,
Yeah.
surprise.
I know. I was amazed as well. I mean, this is just Schadenfreude, right? This is just me being
Yeah.
petty. But she owes like almost $4,000 as of the last time I looked, and they were
How
talking
did
about
you
literally
steal
kicking her out.
$3 million and you don't pay your rent.
Yeah,
She's like, she just gets dumber and dumber. Like, my God.
yeah, it's
Well,
kind
the
of
thing is,
amazing.
she didn't pay her rent because she thought she could leverage the fact that she was mayor and scare the person, because she thought she could use the cops to scare the realtor company. That's what she did it. That's the reason why she didn't pay her rent. It's not that she couldn't, it's that she didn't want to.
She figured she might be able to get away with not doing it. Now, maybe she's worked something out since then, but she showed up late for a meeting recently and got booed by the by the people in attendance. They are really not having any of her stuff. So she's actually suing the village trustees now, because she's claiming that they moved a meeting to another venue that's run by the Parks Department because they needed a larger space. And so she's actually suing them, saying, no, you didn't. You have to hold your meetings where I tell you to hold your meetings.
Also new tonight, Dalton Mayor Tiffany Henyard is suing some village trustees over Monday's meeting. In court documents filed yesterday, Henyard, along with trustees Andrew Holmes and Staley Brown, accused the other trustees of illegally holding that meeting. The Dalton Village Administrator and Park District also named in this lawsuit. This past Monday,
Man, this woman is petty. She's so goddamn petty. It's like, I'm just amazed. I want her out of office. I want her evicted. I want her out of my news feed. Is that too much to ask? I just want her to be, maybe jail would be nice, right?
Justice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
it's one of those, they have to go through the court proceedings. Like, they have to dot their T's and cross every I, otherwise she'll try to sue them for racial transgressions.
Yeah. She says she tried to bring the meetings into compliance, accuses village leaders of not responding, asking judge to declare village hall primary site invalidated business conducted at Monday's meeting. And that's the real thing. She wants to basically do the history eraser machine on whatever they came up with in the meeting that they held.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the thing of, like, you're not going to win this, honey.
No.
Like, even if you somehow win the court case, which you would have had to do some things under some desks that would make Kamala blush in order to make that happen and pay off some bitches. The court of public opinion has already effed you.
Yeah.
There's two. It's kind of like any YouTuber or any, like, social media person. We have everything you've ever said on tape. We know what you've said. We have video of it. Like, this can be pulled out at any point to just screw you over. Just walk away.
Nice highlights, Mayor. I'm sure that didn't cost anything.
Well, it's a wig. You can tell
It
by
is?
looking at her under hair. Yeah, it's her. You
Oh.
can see her baby hairs on the
I
side.
better be careful. Don't say the thing you're thinking, Harry.
Don't say it.
Don't
Don't
say
say
it.
it, Harry. Don't.
It could be canceled. Don't do it. Okay. I wanted to follow up on something that we talked about with Functional last week. Remember we were talking about the dirty hippies who were trying to burn down the forest? And you were... So here's a thing I found about said area. So this is what we're talking about. America, they're claiming highest rated state park. But this is the territory we're looking at up in that part of Northern California. It's
Right.
on the coast.
Oh,
It's
Humboldt,
It's basically Oregon. It's full of hippies, stinky hippies, and pot farms and stuff. But it's also full of the towns of Eureka and Humboldt. Lots of old Victorians. They're actually nice little places to visit. Definitely worth a stop if you're passing through. Humboldt it's a beautiful part of the country, not just the state of the country.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that. That's what they want to not have burned down.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah. Well, I just thought a visual aid might help because Skep was talking about it, I believe, and I don't know if he painted as nice a picture as he could have.
Because I was thinking more open, rural, semi-urban sort of like area, not like, I didn't realize it was like just lots in the forest somewhere. That's something that could lead to incredible devastation quite quickly.
Yeah. So Sora stepped away, so we have to put this next thing on hold. She's busy chasing her dogs around. That's okay. She'll come back eventually.
Minnie's gotten sassy lately.
So we've talked about how things go in the holler, and North Carolina isn't the holler, but I mean,
this part the Appalachians don't start with.
But these are salt of the earth, rural mountain folks, right? I mean, we both agree.
Yeah.
So there was the issue of, are they going to be able to vote? Because some of the conspiracy theories are like, well, I think because it's kind of red in those areas, they maybe don't want them to vote, right? Well, they're trying. I guess there's a little machine, kind of like the nuclear football.
Will start early voting on time, even in the areas devastated by Helene.
Yeah, and it's basically like a little voting thing in a box that ties into a satellite, and they've got these things.
That makes me trust it.
Yeah, I would think just collecting paper ballots would be just fine.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you? But yeah, they have the technology to do this, so that they, even in the areas where things are basically screwed up, they can show up and set up polling areas, and the vote ought to happen.
Well, the thing is like, I mean, we're the Appalachians. One, no one gives a shit about us, to be completely honest, and two, we've always had storms happen during this time of year. This is not anything new. When I was growing up, they would set up the almost like revival tents, and then put up the little ballot boxes, and they would have people like casing the outside of the tent and people at the front of it to sign you in, and then you'd go in, vote, and leave. This is nothing new. This is not, oh, it's the end of the world. No, it's fucking not. Calm the fuck down.
Yeah.
I've heard more people bitching for the people in North Carolina than I've heard North Carolinians bitching.
Yeah.
It's kind of the same thing with Floridians. I've heard more people bitching about the way Floridians are reacting to the hurricane than I've heard Floridians bitching about it.
Well, I don't know a lot of people in Florida, but the few that I've actually taken the time to contact are kind of like, yeah, we're ready. This is what we do. Don't worry about it. We'll be fine.
It was Cat 3 by the time it hit the coast. It was fine.
But it was a vigorous Cat 3.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure it was.
It's like when you accuse somebody of being a bottom and they say, "Oh, but power bottom."
Yeah, I'm a power bottom. It's like,
it was a power Cat 3.
Yeah, sure
it's
you are,
fine.
baby. Sure you are. Well, I mean, just looking at, there was some devastation. Yeah, trees fell because they're palm trees. What did you expect to fall? They're not exactly dense things. Some roofs flew off. 35-plus-year-old stadium lost its fiberglass roof, which, considering how many hurricanes it survived in that time period, I think that was pretty good.
Yeah. It's fiberglass. It's meant to suck.
Walt Disney World and Universal had minimal damage. And they even had people staying at the park because people had got there and then all of a sudden the hurricane got declared. So they had people staying in their hotels. They were fine. None of the outdoor rides got overly damaged other than some minor stuff. Like, it could have been so much worse. Considering how many people were saying, like, they said the same thing with North Carolina, where they're like, well, this is God's way. It's like, shut up. Good Lord.
Everybody wants to basically let their religion leverage it, right? So you can either say it's God, it's God's way of doing it, or the climate people say, oh, it's global warming, and then everybody's, it's the patriarchy. Oh, it's because capitalism is stupid. It's like, shut up, all of you.
By
the way, my earlier comments about the whole religious book thing, it's like, I like religious people. Most of my best friends, almost all of my best friends are religious people. I think religion is a beautiful thing. I've talked about it a whole bunch of times. But where I draw the line is when somebody says, my particular book gives me the authority to tell you what you're supposed to do. And that does not fly.
It was the whole fact of like the nicest people who will give the shirt off your back I've ever met are religious in some form. The ones that are the biggest raging douchebags I've ever met are always atheists or Wiccans. Because they're not, and it's the ones who are not doing it because that's what they actually believe. They're doing it because they're trying to tangentially piss their parents off. But most of them are still cowards and their parents are dead. So, but it's like, so they waited till their parents were dead. But that's like, the biggest jerks I've ever met are non-religious people. Oh, well, I grew up in a very religious family and they were mean. It's like, yeah, but that's like saying that because a certain demographic robs the most, that they're all bad. Like, do you see how that not works?
Yep. Yeah, I mean, apostate Mormons are pretty cool sometimes, and they'll tell stories, and you're just like, yeah, sorry, would you like some coffee or beer? You can do that now. I'm sorry, but I mean, what are we supposed to do about it? You can't control who your parents are. That's the thing. There are some limits on what parents can do to kids, but if you're born with parents who are assholes, regardless of what classification of assholes they are, your life's going to suck. But eventually, you just get through it, and then you go on and you live your life despite them.
Well, it's the whole fact of, like, normally they were going to be asses whether they had religion or not. Religion was just an easier path. Yeah. That's what I've learned.
Religion is great.
Yeah, but it's just, it's one of those things where it's kind of like, we had about 5 to 7 years of pretty good hurricane season, tornado season, where there wasn't a lot of really bad stuff. If it did hit, it hit very minimally populated areas. So people have gotten complacent in that 5 to 7 years. Oh, Sora's back. And the problem is that when something big happens, especially during election year, they all just lose their god dang minds. And it's just like, because I'm West Virginians, we have West Virginians who fly down to Florida all the time during the wintertime. That's the way they are. They're snowbirds. That's where they go. So it's one of those things where it's kind of like, I have a pretty good idea what Florida's like during this time of year. And it's like, unless you are a transplant who's an idiot, you know what you're getting involved with once you get past Jacksonville, Florida, when it comes to hurricanes. Like, 90% of them, especially if they're going through the Gulf, they're going to hit the Everglades, hit that pocket of air, and go from either a Cat 5 or Cat 4 to a 3 or a 2. That's the way it's always been. Now, have some gotten bigger and gone through? Yes, absolutely. But that hasn't happened for like 100 fucking years. And we have better ways of detecting stuff now.
Yeah.
The Katrina that hit New Orleans, it wasn't Katrina that was the problem. It was the fact that the levees were crap. It's just, there's a lot of people looking for a lot of excuses to get holier than thou.
Yeah, but that was just because of racism, wasn't it? Because, no, just kidding.
Yeah, because the racism was also the reason why the certain demographic were looting everything and hurting people and killing people.
Can I show you something along the racist thing? Okay. Caltrans seeks input on project to remove racist Bay Area freeway.
Is it one of those supposedly redlining bullshit things?
Well, I mean, it wasn't really redlining. It was just more of a giant middle finger to the poors. But yeah, Caltrans seeks input on project to remove racist Bay Area freeway. They're claiming that this road called 980, which is this little thing that's sort of in the huge Charlie Foxtrot that is Oakland and Berkeley on the East Bay. There's all of these freeways that sort of come together, 80 and 880 and 680 and 580, and it's terrible. It's just terrible. Well, there's this one that they built just to sort of make traffic not quite so terrible called 980. And man, the fairy tales that they tell about this thing, painting it as racist, and let's see, the I-980 represents a painful monument to the segregation and discrimination of generations past. No, it doesn't. I mean, it's a shitty freeway.
What does it do?
I don't know. It misgenders people as it drives by or something. Just if you guys don't want it there, take it out.
As you drive, if you're a certain hue of dark tan, does it like eject you from your car?
Yeah, exactly. It does it.
Cameras hit you and just make you.
So it says the government finished building the freeway in 1985. So this isn't like, oh, it's the 1930s. The blacks want to go to the beach. Let's make the bridge so low that the bus that they're going to ride on won't make it under there. That way, it's like, okay, fine. I mean, there are incidents of that sort of stuff happening. they weren't a bunch of racists in 1985 in the East Bay of California. This is not a thing that happened. It was built, but it's not like some racist thing that needs to be vilified and torn down. It's a shitty road. If you want to tear it down, but it's not racist. I don't know. I just get tired of this shit. It's like this. What I don't need is virtue signaling by the California Department of Transportation, Caltrans. We have the same
name.
jokes that everybody has about these sort of things. You know, what's orange and sleeps 8? A Caltrans van. You know, that's nobody respects you. Nobody likes you. Shut up.
It's like one of those things where it's kind of like, it's like, do I remember all the movies from the 80s that were supposedly took place in Oakland and all the rest of those?
Mm-hmm.
Most of it was black. So it wasn't just that part.
Yeah.
And also, it's like, let's think of it from the logical standpoint. If they go through the rich neighborhoods, they have, even if they declare eminent domain, they still have to compensate those people for their land, and it's more expensive land. So what are they going to go for? They're going to go for the cheaper land. Y'all just happen to be in the cheaper part of the land, and your skin color seems to happen to be one thing. Okay, welcome to hell. Like, what do you want?
Not everything is racist. Some things are just stupid.
Yeah.
You know?
It is an ugly highway, though. Like,
It is an
fuck.
okay. Well, it's all bad. I mean,
Yeah.
all of the East Bay is just a cancer. It's just in terms of the highways, at least, just absolutely terrible. Speaking of Oakland, Tenderloin drug dealer laundered money through Oakland businesses.
Tenderloin? As
In San Francisco.
San Francisco?
That's the seedy part of San Francisco. They refer to it as the Tenderloin. Sorry.
Yeah.
Why would you?
Yeah, so a Honduran man was sentenced to nearly 4 years in prison for dealing fentanyl in San Francisco's Tenderloin neighborhood and laundered the proceeds, the U.S. Department of Justice said. A now-closed money service business in Oakland and its owner was also involved in the crimes. Yeah. So you take
Payday
your money,
loans.
you take your
Payday
drug
loans.
money, and then you send it over to payday loans in Oakland.
Yeah.
And it gets all shiny and clean when they pay it back.
Yeah, it's amazing how that works.
Speaking of money laundering places, do
Yeah.
you guys have like money? Like, obviously, there's no way it's like a pizza place or some sort of ice cream parlor or coffee shop
Oh yeah,
that
every
it's obviously a
place.
front for something,
Okay, Sora.
but they have like really good stuff.
Well, I did tell you about
Surprise!
the thing that happened with the place I was getting my haircut, right? Do I
I don't
need
think you have, Harry. I don't have any remembrance. Of
Okay, then, well, if
don't
even one of
recall.
you don't remember it, I need to tell you. I was going to this place to get my haircut, and this guy was like this flamboyant little man, but he gave great haircuts. He charged me $35. Most of his clients paid for a whole bunch of other stuff, and, you know, I just said, just give me a businessman's haircut. I'd go see this guy every 6 weeks. He'd cut my hair. It's fine. Now, I'm very blind with my glasses off, but you take your glasses off to get your haircut. So I sit in the chair, and every now and then gentlemen would come in, and there were these two women in these little lab coat things that were estheticians, supposedly, and then guys would go in back, and they'd just sort of disappear. And I'd, of course, leave after getting my haircut. Well, after about a year or so, or 2 years ago, and to have my haircut there, I show up one time for a haircut, and there's a notice on the door. Turns out it was a prostitution and money laundering place. They were funneling dirty money through it, and the girls in the back were providing extra services. Now, there were a few times that he said, hey, you know, if you want to get your pores opened or whatever, I forget it. I don't even care because I wasn't paying attention. You know, I could set you up with the girls, and I just want a haircut. I think I was legitimately the beard for his business. I think that I was the one legitimate customer. It's like, there's all these guys who come in here spending hundreds and hundreds of dollars every week, and then there's this one guy that every 6 weeks spends $37 plus a tip. Oh yeah, it was me. I was, but the feeling is you walk up to the door and you go, wait, what?
It's like, and then you go, why didn't I take them up on their services?
I've been getting my hair cut in a brothel.
The fact that they were actually a smarter brothel and actually had someone who actually knew how to cut hair.
Oh yeah, he was very talented. Yeah.
Assassin's like, how do you not know it's a air quotes massage parlor?
Okay, first of all, in a number of really weird ways, I'm very naive. I mean, I have like this selective naivete that when it kicks in, it kicks in hard, and I just don't see bad things sometimes because I deep down, I try to be an optimist. I don't think the worst of people, unless they're kind of on my radar as being bad people. I mean, at face value, there was nothing wrong there. I'd show up, I'd give them money, he'd cut my hair, I'd leave. I mean, I never saw anything that looked weird. It was all sort of hidden behind the veil where the great and powerful Oz was. That's all. I don't know what to tell you. But I don't know. I don't think that it's necessarily such a bad thing to be naive like that. I mean, it's good that I'm capable of being naive after 6th grade camp, when I was betrayed. Assholes.
Don't let that thing die. Don't let it die, Harry.
Oh, they hate.
Hold that grudge. Hold that grudge.
The flame from 6th grade camp is not going anywhere.
Oh, it's not, honey. It's keeping everything going.
All those people that came up and said, "Oh, I know you're making a mistake. You really ought to go." Because I said, "Yeah, I'm not going." And they, "Oh, you really got to go." And then I go and they keep me from watching the eclipse. Those assholes. Anyway, so yes, I had my hair cut for about a year and a half in a brothel. And I was completely unaware that it was a brothel. Because like I said, I couldn't see anything. I'd show up, I'd take my glasses off. I am legally blind without my glasses. I cannot see a goddamn thing. The young women in the lab coats and the guys occasionally coming in and going into the back room, I couldn't. If you asked me to pick them out of a lineup, I couldn't. Because I never saw them with my glasses on.
I'm sure that's what you told the cops.
Yep.
Well, I mean, nobody ever came and asked me any questions like, "Oh, you see here." It's like, no. I was the one legitimate customer, I'm pretty sure.
They protected you. They were like, "No, he was actually legitimate. Don't let them find him."
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, it is really weird that I do have this sort of selective naivete about stuff. Do you remember the Mark Sanford thing that happened where he was the governor? Was it of South Carolina? And he just sort of disappeared, and he left some sort of note saying he was hiking the Appalachian Trail. And everybody was trying to figure out, well, what the hell happened with Mark Sanford? And I said, go get off this guy's dick. Maybe he was just stressed out, and he's actually hiking the Appalachian Trail, and it's fine. I actually wanted to believe him. No, he was hooking up with an Argentinian journalist who he later left his wife for. It was just awful and terrible. But I mean, I literally heard it and said, well, I can see why a guy would want to do that. I can see why you would want to do that, right? Piece of shit, Mark Sanford. Anyway.
Yeah, he ran off to Argentina to visit his mistress.
I thought he was actually hiking the Appalachian Trail. I actually believed him. Yeah.
Yeah, Harry, why would they lie?
It's a totally believable explanation. Why don't we give him the benefit of the doubt? When he gets back, we'll ask him about the trip. Maybe he'll have some pictures to show. It'll be fine. No.
You'll have some slides.
Yeah. But I don't know why it is that I can be so cynical and so critical, like immediately about some things, but other things I just like, oh yeah, I could totally see wanting to do that. Okay.
But I put in this. I don't know if you want to.
It's a little bit of hope that people are better than they are, I think.
I don't know if you want to. We covered the original story like a year ago, but there's a recent update, almost nearly breaking news because it only came out several hours ago.
Okay, teen accused of killing ex-police chief found not competent to stand trial.
So for those that don't remember, the police chief was out biking on a road, and him and his
this piece of shit
car were laughing as they like intentionally hit him, and now they find him not competent to even stand trial. Such a load of shit. How
it's Las Vegas. Oh, okay.
Yeah, but how does anybody in their right fucking mind look at that footage and go, they had no idea what they were doing? They fully knew what they were doing, and this aggravates me so much.
Well, there's video of them talking about it.
Yeah, both when it happened and afterward. They're stupid enough to keep this video on their phone and record it in the first place. Like it's just, it's maddening. It's maddening.
If it means anything, it says Lake Crossing. He's being sent to Lake Crossing Center, which is a maximum security psychiatric facility.
Yeah.
That's worse. Anyone who's ever been in a maximum security psychiatric facility, that's worse than some prisons. Like he's not getting off easy. He's not. He should have gone. It should have gone worse for him. I absolutely agree.
No, he knew what he was doing.
Yeah.
He's not a psychiatric thing. See, look how cynical I can be. I don't believe him. I don't believe him. No, but he's not. When you hear these guys talking about it, it's cold, calculated. Just these kids are just bad, and they don't have any place in society. They need to just be made to go away until they're dead.
Well, apparently Lake Crossing also has a neat little thing where they are also there for the treatment for restoration to legal competency. So she may have sent him there to get him, because he's probably faking it, because we all know he is.
Yeah. I see your point.
To get him back up and go, see, you went through it. Now we can go after your ass. Goodbye. Because that's the thing. Because it's like if he plays, I'm autistic or something, which I'm sure that's probably what his attorney did. They can evaluate him outside of his attorney and the attorney's staff, and then go from there. So I actually kind of agree with what the judge did, because they may have not been in a good position to even try to force anything else. So they're like, all right, cool. We'll send you to somewhere where it's a third-party evaluation, and we'll get you back up to legal competency. And then you can stand trial. Because double jeopardy does not hold in this case. Not in any way, shape, or form.
Okay, I want a palate cleanser, and then I'll show you. I'll show you something else. No, actually, we should do something else, and then we'll do the palate cleanser. So I think we mentioned there was a sheriff that basically gunned down his friend who was a judge in I think it was Arkansas.
I may have missed that one.
Okay, so there was a sheriff. It was in Letcher County of all places, who was very good friends with a judge. And he went to call his daughter, and his daughter wasn't picking up. So he grabs his friend's phone, says, hey, can I use your phone? Sure. He figured maybe calling from another phone might get the daughter to answer, right? So as he's typing in the number, it autocompletes, and it turns out his underage daughter is in the guy's phone directory, the judge's phone directory. Now, of course, this might be my selective whatever. I can think of a million legitimate reasons why that might be true that have nothing to do with anything evil. Okay, like wanting to, she was asking for a recommendation for something for college or a scholarship. There are 1,000 things that could be going on that have nothing to do with anything weird. But the police chief, the sheriff, basically pulled out his gun and unloaded it on this guy, and then went and turned himself in. He went straight from, what the fuck is my daughter's phone number doing on your phone, to my best friend is dead.
Blam.
Also, this was in Kentucky, Harry.
Kentucky.
This was Whitesburg, Kentucky.
Letcher County, Kentucky.
Right on the border. This is on the border with Virginia.
Wait. Letcher County?
Letcher County, yeah.
We have a lot of counties that have names like that in the Appalachian.
I know, but just in the relationship to the story, it's just really...
Oh, God, it's on Route 119. Yeah, I know where that is. Oh, Lord.
Yeah.
Local judge.
Yeah, I agree with you, Harry. There could be a lot of legitimate reasons, and
I mean, just take a breath. Take a
breath.
Take a breath. I mean, you're
say what the fuck.
You're a good dad, except she's not going to have a dad around now because your ass is going to jail, and it may turn out that something horrible was happening. Totally accept that, but to go from what the hell's my daughter's phone number doing on your phone to blam 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 instantaneously, maybe too hasty a reaction, or maybe he wasn't hiking Appalachian Trail. I don't know. But a guy's dead, and now it's going to be figured out, and it's either going to be he's father of the year, or it's going to turn out he's one of the biggest idiots ever, just killed his best friend. So, it's a terrible story. I mean, it's just a terrible story. There's no good outcome here, right?
Yeah. Minnie doesn't like that story.
Yeah.
No, she does not.
No, Minnie doesn't like it. Okay, how does Minnie feel? How does Minnie feel about this?
So,
wait, we got more.
One of the articles I'm reading, which is one of the newer ones, which is NPR. Apparently, Stamper, that when Steins was taken into custody, he told the officers they are trying to kidnap my wife and kid. Stamper, who's the chief investigator, didn't elaborate on what the sheriff might have meant. He did say though that he had heard the judge and the sheriff were at odds over a recent lawsuit. Errors disposition. The lawsuit claimed that Steins knew or should have known that a now former deputy had coerced a female drug defendant into having sex in exchange for freeing her from house arrest. The defendant said Deputy Ben Fields had forced her to have sex with him in Judge Mullen's chamber after hours in exchange for Fields taking her ankle monitor. Fields also served as the judge's bailiff. Pleaded guilty to rape charges last year. Both Mullins and Steins denied knowing anything about Fields' crimes. So that's the lawsuit. That's probably the reason why Daddy freaked out about the phone number auto-completing.
Yeah.
Now, it didn't make it right.
I guess that surprise party's not going off.
Yeah, yeah, there's nothing else right now. It hit the first-degree murder case against Steins is now heading to a grand jury.
Yeah, whatever is going to come out of it's going to be interesting, but it's still terrible because, really,
Well, I didn't see where it said how old his daughter was, so I don't know how old his daughter was.
just
That's my thing.
underage is the only thing they say.
Yeah, that's.
You know, I mean, you're not supposed to knock boots with them, but it's not like you have to not talk to people. You know, sometimes you talk to the children of your best friends. It's a thing that happens.
Well, and the thing is like I think Dad's brain went to, oh, supposedly this happened in Mullen's chamber. We know about the lawsuit. They were at odds, and his brain just went stupid and was like, oh, so you either did or tried. And also the fact that he said after he was arrested that they were trying to take his wife and daughter. Now that could be a cover, but it could be something else was going on because that is part of Kentucky. So,
Yeah.
there's a TV show not too long ago called Justified.
Yes.
And it's based in that part of Kentucky. That part of Kentucky has a very bad tendency for drug mules. Moonshine's never been a problem because everybody always knew the moonshiners. Like, moonshiners haven't had a problem in decades. But it's like there's known for drug trafficking. There's a lot of the backwater hillbilly gang kind of people who go up through Louisville and Lexington and all that kind of stuff. So it's not a clean county. Let me put it that way. It's not a clean county.
Gotcha.
So it's when you know the demographic of that area, everyone being like, "We're in shock." I'm like, "No, you're fucking not. Shut up."
Yeah. Well, I want to show a rodent to Sora and get her opinion. I think I may have mentioned these before, but we've actually got stupid nutrias showing up. They're like these giant 25-pound rodents.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I don't think giant river nigels are a good idea. I'm thinking just open up hunting season. Do you think 25-pound nigels are cute?
Roast.
Yeah. Supposedly they're actually tasty.
I don't mind them. They look like beaver. It's fine.
Well, beavers are assholes too.
Like a failed beaver. Yeah, they have like lots of offspring. Supposedly they are relatively tasty. I think Scott Adams was joking that these showed up just at the same time as they're eating the dogs and eating the cats. So maybe, we could reach some sort of accommodation.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm listening.
I mean, supposedly they don't taste terrible. I saw a video by a guy named Sean Woods who caught one and roasted it, said it was pretty decent.
Look at those claws, though. Look at those things.
Yeah. Giant swamp rats. We don't need giant swamp rats in California. That's your thing. That is the Hellman's mayonnaise bottom part of the country. That is your problem. We don't need these damn things. I feel like one of you people brought that over here just to make California suck even more.
Considering how California's going.
Yeah, because that's what we need is giant rats. Okay.
Well, you already have coyotes that are trying to eat people's dogs.
Yeah, let me see. There was another thing here. Where did it go? Oh, I think it's it's actually in Discord. Excuse me. I haven't even it's so fresh it's not even in the spreadsheet. One of my friends sent this to me in a text message. Alligator catfish hybrids are being spawned in an Alabama lab. Why though?
What?
Why though?
In order to build a better catfish.
Well, it's like, hey, this catfish tastes kind of like chicken. Hey, my chicken tastes kind of like catfish. I mean, I would think that fried, if you couldn't decide between fried chicken and fried catfish, this would be the ideal thing. Since alligators basically just taste like chicken. No? No takers?
Well, they do. I've had alligator.
Yeah. Especially when you fry it.
Sour side.
Yeah. Well,
I mean,
yeah.
okay. I've seen this horror movie. We've all seen this horror movie. Let's not do this.
Okay. So
okay. I see what they're doing. They're trying to make it so, because alligators have a harder time with infections. Like, they don't get them as easily. Mm-hmm. And because catfish are a really good, easy farm fish, they're trying to make it so, use the DNA from the alligator to make it so the catfish don't get infections as easier, so they don't have to use
antibiotics.
Antibiotics. That's what they're doing.
Oh,
they're not actually trying to make giant alligator catfish. They're trying.
Kind of disappointing.
I know.
You know?
And they're using the gene editing tool, which I know we've talked about in the past, CRISPR.
Yep.
So they're doing that calcidian into part of the genome that codes for important reproductive hormone. But the hormone, the fish are unable to spawn. The testing showed that genetically altered fish seem more resistant to infection.
Wait, I can't spawn. I'll just swim around aimlessly in this pond and get really fat.
No, they want them to breed. You
I know.
actually do want to breed.
I thought it says they're sterile. So I was thinking that maybe they were just trying to take away their will to live so they get fattened up faster and then you could eat them.
Austin.
Yeah.
But it's like, it makes sense because catfish, unlike tilapia, actually have some nutritional value to them.
Catfish is great.
And they're bottom feeders, and they like staying in tight and closed spaces. So they're easier to breed, they're easier to raise, easier to feed, because you don't have to give them the best because they're garbage fish.
You just have to clean them up properly. It's like you don't just walk into the garden and start eating snails. If you're going to eat snails, you have to actually clean them out before you make them into stuff.
Dude, I have scars on my arm from going noodling. Trust me, I understand.
I've seen videos of people noodling.
Yeah, it's funny. They have a bite to them.
Yeah, I mean, in case anybody doesn't know what this is, you literally don't you practically end up shoving your hand in their mouth a good chunk of the time to grab them?
Yeah, and then you grab the back of their throat and you pull them out of the water. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you move your hand around like a noodle.
It's all for a good cause.
I mean, it's the freshest fish you're ever going to get.
Yeah. I mean, it lives in the mud. You have to basically rinse it out. I can't remember if this is one that you soak in milk or anything before you cook it. Or do you just clean it really well in water?
You clean it really well. Depends on how you want to fry the catfish, on whether that's how you do it.
With cornmeal in hot oil is how I want to fry the catfish.
Well, it depends. Depending on where you do it, some people like to use buttermilk and cornmeal to put the batter on them. Some like to use straight milk. I've heard of using semi-melted butter to do it too. That one was weird. Up around here, we use buttermilk. So,
well, yeah, if you actually soak it in the buttermilk for a little bit ahead of time, good things happen. Isn't that right, Functional?
Sorry?
If you soak meat in buttermilk for a little bit before you cook it, good things happen.
Eh.
What do you mean, yeah? It makes it tender and wonderful. Buttermilk, yogurt, all that stuff. It's really good to marinate chicken, for instance, in yogurt before you cook it.
Apparently, catfish farming makes up 60 to 70% of all U.S. aquaculture.
Wow. Well, more fish for Sora to defend.
I mean, they have cute whiskers.
There we go.
Yeah, they're good little fishies. They're actually good fishies.
I like,
they're not asshole fish.
I like those little sharks that you can get for your home aquarium, like the little tiny baby sharks.
The little guppy guys, yeah, and the little tiny sharks. Yeah.
I like the guy who cleans the tank often more than the rest of the fish. The little Picostomus. He just sits there and he does the Mr. Clean thing. He's like the sea janitor. He's great.
Jacques, oui, clean. Yeah, sorry. Catfish can get giant though. Catfish can get better than it can get bigger than alligators. I've seen some big boys. They are they can get big real easy.
Well, just as an aside, I'm not sure how comfortable I feel about taking genes from a reptile and splicing them into a thing that's not a reptile. It's just like
Too
fish
late.
and reptiles are not the same thing.
Well, it's too late, Harry, because they've been doing that since 2023.
Well,
so this is
somebody needs to get some controls on this shit. Okay. Anyway, so fish. Sorry, I may have let you down, Sora. All I have is a giant rat and a weird half fish. Okay. I don't think there's any other cute things that animals did this week. Oh, well, okay. So this is sort of. How about this? This is called lambscaping.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. Lambscaping. Sheep are to graze Ohio solar farms, support agriculture economy. I just like the term lambscaping.
I don't know why you'd use sheep instead of goats, but
Yeah.
Just they're
goats are a bit
delicious.
hard. And so is goat.
Yeah, mutton is not. I don't know. If I had my choice between goat and sheep, I'm going sheep, honestly. But I will eat mutton.
I prefer goat.
Goat.
And
They have
mutton's
weird
sh-
eyes.
I thought. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought mutton was sheep.
It can be sheep
Yeah,
or
it's
sometimes
like old
goat.
sheep.
Okay.
It's
I
old.
know
It's a
it's
term they use for
goat.
old sheep, but in other parts of the world, because we're not racist and we care about what other people think, they also will call mutton things like goat.
Okay. I was really confused. I was like, what? I prefer goat. I don't really like sheep, and I will not eat lamb.
Oh yeah, it's true. I keep forgetting that not everybody likes the taste of lamb.
No. Well, it's also because I understand that they are usually not the best of the crop when it comes to everything, but I still can't, like, veal. I can't do veal. I can't. Nope.
Coming soon to the Sci-Fi Channel, Catigator.
Yeah.
Good job. Good job, Frosted Glass.
I'm sure there's a movie already like that, Frosted. I'm absolutely positive.
Yeah. Hellcat Mageddon next on the Sci-Fi Channel. Yeah. Okay. Good. Yeah. Landscaping. You want to keep things clear around your solar panels and stuff? Let's just let a bunch of sheep loose. Hey, if you can use land to do two things simultaneously, that sounds great. But I think you're just going to have a lot of lazy sheep lying around in the shade. That's just
that's
my
also
theory.
the good thing is that, one, because it's a solar farm,
Mm-hmm.
it's more closed in, so they're going to be less likely to get jumped by stuff. Two, when the sheep do lay down, which they expect them to lay down, they have a shade to lay down in.
Mm-hmm.
Which sheep, especially if they have a full coat and it's warm, they can get exhausted real easy and get heat stroke. So this is a double win because they have shade for when they want to sit down.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're herbivores, they always have to eat anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a win-win for everybody, and people can and it could be one of those things. It gives the ability to check the maintenance of the solar panels because you might as well have the person who is out there with the sheep check the solar panels. It's a win by everybody. I like this. I like this.
Okay,
Hi,
well,
furry bastard.
I'm going to show you my favorite story of the week because I got to do it eventually, right? How about now? Hacked robot vacuums across the U.S. start yelling slurs.
This is the reason why I don't have a talking one. I refuse. I refuse.
This is fantastic.
Yeah, this one has a camera and all this stuff. So it's a tale as old as the Internet of Things era. Robot vacuums made by Ecovacs have been reportedly roving around people's homes, yelling profanities at them through the onboard speaker after the company's software was found to be vulnerable to intrusion. It sounded like broken up radio signal or something. Daniel Swenson, not his real name, told the outlet you could hear snippets of maybe a voice. He opened the vacuum's app to find a stranger was accessing its live camera feed and remote control feature. I mean, that's scary enough, right? But assumed it might be an
They
error.
were doing that with baby monitors
Yeah.
too.
Yeah,
After
I remember
resetting
I
the
think that's
password
worse.
and rebooting the robot, the vacuum quickly started moving again. This time, there was no ambiguity about what was coming out of the speaker. A voice was yelling racist obscenities loud and clear right in front of Mr. Swenson's sons. F-word, N-word, screamed the voice over and over again.
Jesus.
Just go to full test racism, like 180 proof racism. just. I honestly, if Simone started screaming that, I would probably die laughing.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah, because I have a sick sense of humor. Luckily, I made sure Simone doesn't have that kind of camera or capability. I don't want my vacuum cleaner being in the Internet of Things.
Oh, it's the well, I will only connect mine to the internet for it to update, and then I disconnect it immediately.
Simone arrived and Simone was perfect. Simone is my vacuum that I got, and she looks like the Simon Game, so I call her Simone because she has a woman's voice. But
frosted.
Yeah. What did Frosty say this time?
I'm sure someone has that ability to give you that.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Yeah. The most common issue people have with so-called smart home devices is that they often require a software subscription to access core functionality. Yeah, well, screw that. I'm not.
Yeah, you can go fuck yourself on that one.
I will build one from scratch before I will deal with this, or just pick up a broom.
I will call Harry and go, Harry, can you build?
Yes, I can.
To get around that bullshit, because no.
But I just love the thought of vacuums just sort of waking up one day like an unruly mob just screaming, you know, get out of the pool or some kind of Fortran BS. Fortran.
There you go.
Not Fortran.
It's like the meme of someone showing what happens with their Echo devices, their Amazon Echo devices, if they hear a break-in.
Mm-hmm.
It's like turn off all.
What?
Sora either accidentally disconnected or she lost internet. Nope, there she is.
She's back.
But anyway, it's like
sorry about that.
It's okay.
Good. But it's like the one where it was like, turn off all the lights, say you come to the wrong house, play like the Doom theme, and then release all the Roombas. Like,
just make a pump shotgun noise. That's really should be all it takes. I think instinctively we know what that noise is.
Oh yeah.
You feel it right down at the base of your spine.
You feel your
and then
butt
it
like
activates
Tucker.
your feet to run in the opposite direction.
I do like the robot vacuums, and then you give them extended so they can slice the Achilles.
Yeah.
No?
Yeah.
Yeah, you just make them. You just have them randomly just keep bumping into them. It's like, I'm trying to kill people here, poke. No, foot out from underneath you.
Take out the mess at the source, you know?
Let me make sure, but you have to make sure you have the ones that mop and vacuum. This way, they mop first, and then they vacuum all the evidence up.
Absolutely, and with a fresh bleach dispenser, and then it leaves a trail of quicklime behind it.
Exactly.
Yeah. Does this rag smell like formaldehyde? Okay.
No.
Functional.
Yeah.
I don't want to leave you behind here. So, are you psyched? Are you excited? The Europa Clipper is actually on its way to Jupiter's moon Europa now.
Is this the one that's supposed to be? No, this is the one that already launched, right?
It just launched on the 6th on a SpaceX Falcon Heavy, and because people think that the Falcon is only used like one particular way, those rockets. But for these kinds of missions, instead of trying to land the first stage booster, what they'll end up doing is taking all that fuel that would be used to land and just go, here, heave ho, and you just put as much energy into the thing you're trying to launch as you can. So you lose the booster, but for these kinds of special missions where you're trying to send like an interplanetary probe, you just go, okay, that's okay. We'll pay the extra. We'll basically eat the deposit on this recyclable bottle.
Mm-hmm.
So it took off on a SpaceX rocket, and it's going to be great because this is what we've needed for a long time, is something that can actually go into the Jovian system and do real concentrated, focused science on some of the more interesting things that are orbiting Jupiter. Because right before this, we've got things spinning around Jupiter, grabbing little bits of measurements here and there. But this thing's actually going to be like a serious mission to figure out one of the more interesting places in the solar system.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to extensively get into every instrument package that's on there because it's going to take years to get there. And there's going to be other opportunities to talk about it between now and then. But it launched, which is fan-damtastic.
Yeah, and here's hoping that I think it was today that they were trying to launch another rocket.
Actually,
yes.
this Ars Technica thing is pretty good. I should put this in the chat, I think. What? Something happened?
No, I just
okay.
The picture of Europa is really cool.
It is really cool.
And it's a really cool planet.
Yeah.
I
Moon.
can't wait to learn Moon. That I can't wait to learn a lot more about.
Well, did you see in the thumbnail
Europa and Titan
that it was the one that was mentioned by Arthur C. Clarke, that the obelisk aliens were like, yeah, you can do whatever you want with the rest of the solar system, but leave Europa alone. Because it's such an interesting place that even back in the day, Arthur C. Clarke was, well, where would the space aliens feel attached to? How about Europa? Okay, well, that's where we're going because it's just that interesting. No, it's a fascinating thing. What?
No, I'm laughing at furry bastard.
Oh, okay.
It's what if they find the corpse of Frank Poole floating around the Jovian system?
Exactly. No, I had a weird thought earlier today. This is an abrupt change of topic. I was throwing out some sweatpants because I thought they were too old, and I started imagining that my sweatpants were Joe Biden, and I was starting to think what sweatpants Joe Biden would say about being thrown away. Come on, man.
Harry.
I'm Joe Sweatpants
I
Biden.
worry about you sometimes.
We've been through a lot together. You can't just throw me away.
Harry, have you gotten plenty of sleep lately?
Sure, I'm a little tattered. My elastic's not so good. I don't know why. This is the idea of sweatpants Joe Biden just popped into my head, and I just started laughing like an idiot for about 3 minutes.
Is there any strange smells coming from neighbors' houses that are making you feel giddy? Like what?
I sold a motorcycle.
Do you smell burnt toast?
I also sold a motorcycle yesterday, and that was interesting because I've never sold a motorcycle to somebody. And
is it like yours or like one that you like?
One that I used to use that I don't use anymore. I've got rid of one that I've just sort of been not riding for a few years, and I disclosed all the stuff was wrong with it, and I just really wanted it to sort of go away so I'd have more room to park. It wasn't, and I wanted it to go have a good life. And so I drew up a bill of sale for an as-is sale. It's like, look, this is on you. As soon as you buy it, I am not responsible for anything. And the guy started giving me static. Like, I buy vehicles all the time and never go through all this sort of stuff. I said, well, I deal with contracts all the time, and I know how it's supposed to be done, and that's why we're doing it this way. You know, have a nice day. Sorry, you're dealing with adults now. It's like, you think I'm not going to add a section that says if you die in a fiery crash right after I sell it to you that I'm not responsible? I'm absolutely putting that in, idiot. Sorry, apropos of nothing. Yeah, CYA. I said, if you do damage to any person or any property, it is none of my concern after you sign this. And I was like, yeah.
And the minute you sign it, get it off my property.
Yeah, well, I left it basically parked out front on the street, and I then went off to work and came back several hours later and was happy to see that it was gone. And I didn't see like somebody cleaning up a scene where a motorcycle exploded, so that was fine. God. Oh, Sora, I keep remembering these things that I mentioned was going to talk about at the top of the show. We both have small-ish, medium-sized SUVs, right? And one thing that I did not like about my car was that the tires and stuff were really, really, really loud. Like, I'd drive around and my ears would ring if I drove for any length of time on the freeway if it wasn't perfectly smooth. I bought tires based solely on performance. I like exhaustively went through all the stuff and said, I'm going to buy these because these are the best performing tires without thinking at all about my happiness. So I actually bought some new tires, and weirdly enough, it's like a whole new car. I started going 80 miles an hour because I couldn't sense that I was going fast.
Oh, what
Can
concept?
sneak up on people now.
I could totally sneak up on people. It was weird after driving around, for like over an hour. I didn't feel like tired and pissed off, like I'd gone through some sort of ordeal. It's like, oh, what a nice drive on such a nice day. It's amazing how much of a difference it makes. These are the Bridgestone Potenza all-season sport something or others, and they're just like the best. I've never spent $1,000 on tires and felt good about it before, because usually it's just sort of a chore, and now I'm like, no, these are great tires. My whole car feels like a new car now. So if your car's starting to piss you off, buy it some new shoes. Because SUVs are not like engineered for comfort and peace and quiet. I have to just tell you, it really gave my car a whole new lease on life. Yeah.
Soon they'll get snowshoes here.
Yeah. Oh, do you actually swap out for winter tires?
I used to. I didn't do in the last couple of years, and I did regret it. So this year.
Yeah. If you're spending time driving in snow, you want to do it.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
It's the ice. Yeah.
So are these snow rated or actually studded snow tires?
I don't need studded for what I do. I don't go out in the country enough, and if I go up on the mountain, they'll just put chains as well.
Yeah.
But you can get studded. A lot of people who live out in the sticks will get studded, but it gets destroyed too much once you enter the city. And 90% of my 99 even percent of my driving is city driving, so
Yep.
it's too much.
Yeah.
Not
Okay.
if you don't want to like change it too often.
Yeah. I mean, you've got to be in pretty extreme conditions to make the studded snow tires worth it.
Yeah,
Around here,
it's
if
not
it
worth
snowed,
it.
everybody would just stay home. You know, like an inch of snow and everything would just society would collapse around here. I assume you guys are more prepared.
That's kind of how they act here too. Don't worry.
It's apocalyptic.
I mean, we get it every year. It's a few times a year, and it's like end of the world. They're never, and it's usually there's warning. It's not like it's a sudden freak show, right? They'll be like, oh, most likely we're gonna get snow in the next 5 days, and they're not prepared. Transit system doesn't have the right buses out on the road. They haven't removed the buses. Say if they had all morning to change them, it's just something else.
Yeah. You know, you once made a comment, and I know I've co-opted something that you said. You said that somebody was living their best life, and I found that that's actually a great way to say something sarcastically. Because I learned that from you. So I'll now say somebody's living their best life. And I have a thing that I wrote, is Joe Biden finally living his best life? He seems like he's way happier now that he's not running for office. Have you seen the thing where he puts on a Trump hat? Have you seen that happen? I have a video clip.
No.
That's with the firefighters, wasn't it?
Okay.
I'll give you my presidential hat. Presidential seal on it.
You gonna autograph it?
Oh, sure.
Sure, I'll autograph it. I'm just.
There you go, man. I need that hat.
You want my autograph?
Hell no.
You got my name. Come on.
I ain't going that far.
Yeah. I said we'd do a selfie. There you go.
Look, he's just look at how much fun he's having.
Hey, I'm proud of you now.
I like this Joe Biden. The I don't give a shit Joe Biden.
I don't give a shit Joe Biden, yeah.
I don't give a shit Joe Biden, who just signs hats and shakes hands, is way less annoying than Dark Brandon. I think he's really happy that he's not running at this point. I could be wrong, but you see him going to the beach, getting a tan. People make all sorts of comments, and it's like, oh no, I'm just Scranton Joe, and it's just like, I don't think he didn't behave like this before, back when he was actually trying to win. Now he's just he's in cruise mode. This is better. This is better for him. The elder abuse is stopped, and he can just run around and shake hands and sign hats. I think this is healthy. Maybe I'm the only one. Maybe I'm just being selectively naive again. Could happen. It's just good old Scranton Joe. It doesn't, by the way, it doesn't excuse him for all the terrible shit he did back when he was mentally competent.
Oh.
But yeah.
No, but at least you can get some entertainment out of him,
Yeah. And look at the guy who says, yeah, I like you now. It's like, fine. This is a way better Joe Biden, honestly. All right, let's see. What have we got left? Well, we're not talking about that. Oh, yeah, there was the horrible thing with the Kentucky judge getting shot. Money laundering, got that. LA Times food critic called SF apocalyptically empty during... Yeah, he basically went to San Francisco to sort of look around, and he's like, where the hell have all the businesses gone? But, yeah.
Oh, I wonder where.
Yeah, it's like the thing is that this functional, that restaurants die all the time. The average amount of time that, like 2 out of 3 restaurants die within the first 2 years. It's a terrible, terrible industry with a terrible rate of turnover because just so many restaurants fail. But that doesn't mean that they should be, normally they'd be replaced by new restaurants. You know, they would just sort of rise from the ashes, you know, the winds of creative destruction. But that's not what's happening in San Francisco. It's just drying up. And yeah, it's pretty damn sad. It's pretty damn sad. But let's see, where was this thing? Here. But this isn't sad. I actually like this. Some people are actually making an effort to make San Francisco suck just a little bit less. I give you, Muni Streetcar turns into San Francisco's most exclusive speakeasy. About once a week, they basically take over one of the vintage streetcars and turn it into a jazz club where people can just get on for free and hang out and have a good time. I know it's too little too late. It's not going to save anything, but I like fun. And I think this is actually kind of fun. I would definitely ride on that streetcar if I knew where it was going to be. But I don't think stunts like this are going to save San Francisco, unfortunately. But be that as it may, I can have a good time while everything's circling the toilet, because this to me seems like an okay thing to do. Why not? Bring a singer and some musicians into a streetcar that's decked out in vintage stuff and have a party. Because you can. All right. I think I'm the only one who likes this story. All right, let's see. I don't care about that. Can't make fun of these people. Have you heard about lavender marriages? Sora or Serenity? Have we lost everybody? Okay, we lost Sora. She's back.
Hey, I'm back. Thank
Serenity.
you.
I was wondering, it's just me and Functional. Oh, no.
The lavender marriage, is that the one where you get married to someone knowing that they're gay?
Yeah, it used to be like a thing that people would do just to sort of cover. Like, oh, here, look, we're living a normal life over here, but then you go off and do whatever. Let's see, where is the Gen Z thing?
They have their own term for it.
Oh, great. Well, we can get rid of this because this is now no longer the... Yeah, essentially, they're having sort of these fake open marriages because they just want somebody to share the bills and they want people to leave them alone. And it's some new Gen Z thing that they've decided to co-opt, because it used to just be a thing that like gay people would do so that they could fit in. And then they would just have all their gay relations on the down low. But now they're talking about essentially marriages of convenience that don't have any sex associated with it. They're just like, yeah, well, we'll just pretend to be married so our parents don't yell at us anymore. that kind of thing. Yeah, lavender marriages.
Yeah. Well, if they know what they're getting into, and the thing is, in the eyes of the law, it's considered a legal marriage as long as they understand that a separation of assets will be, you know, should they decide to divorce. I
mean, it's basically like having a roommate without benefits. As long as they have a good prenup, I guess I don't care. I do think that two people trying to make it in this world by whatever means is a hell of a lot easier than one person, because housing and stuff is expensive. If you're splitting the bills with somebody, that's just way better. So yeah. Hey, as long as everybody agrees to it. So Gen Z is really getting creative about stuff. You know, modern problems require not so modern solutions, I guess. All right. Lavender marriages. I have a couple houses that I thought were interesting, but I usually only show those to, I show those when Serenity's around. So we need to wait for her to come back. Oh,
yeah, examples of potential lavender marriages and beards in the chat.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Like Bill and Hillary?
Kamala and Doug.
Nice. 21st century beards. Yes, exactly. Oh, a question mark. Oh, a beard is somebody that you're in a relationship to draw attention to your actual relationship. It's a bit of old slang from like the 30s. Not Bathhouse Barry and Big Mike. Man, I really do need to look at chat more often, especially when they're being funny. Okay. Independent in key House race suspends campaign saying he was pawn in election fraud scheme. This guy got encouraged to run as an independent in Minnesota, and he sort of came to the realization that, wait, why did a bunch of Democrats tell me to do this? Oh, it's just so that I can screw up the race. He's just like, no, I'm going to bow out. Yeah, okay. This seems like maybe it's a little bit of cope, because why not run? And then when I know I'm not going to possibly win, I can just leave and have it be, you just know Big Mike gets his pegging. Hey, good old Big Mike. I don't know. I made a joke. I played a joke about Big Mike the other day, but a bunch of you weren't here. I think Functional was here.
Yes.
See, where do I have it? Is it in back pocket topics? Or did I remove it? Okay. Yeah, I can't find it readily. Got all this stuff in back pocket topics that we can't go into. But yeah, Shane Gillis was basically making some jokes about Big Mike as when he's pretending to be Trump. I love that sort of stuff. All right. Setting this aside. This is under Do I Care? Don't care about this. Somebody was asking about SQL. Can't talk about SQL without Skep here. Okay, let's do the Viva Barnes thing. Okay, so Microsoft, Bill Gates and company and all of his little friends decided they wanted to fight Russian hacking and vote interference and all that sort of stuff. So they went to a judge and said, these domains are involved in Russian fraud. And we want you to basically take all of these domains and give them to us so the bad people can't use them. And they did it in such a way that there was no questioning or subpoena or anything delivered to like the other parties. And it was all against Jane Doe. They didn't name who the defendants were. They didn't give them any kind of notice of what was going to happen. They just said, Judge, just give Microsoft about 200 domain names. Just seize them from these other people. So Viva and Barnes started talking about it here.
Okay, let's go in secret and buy up and control Rumble. And then overnight, without Rumble even knowing, they could have all the...
They're looking for the limiting principle, by the way.
The inside information on Rumble, because they would own the domain, they would own everything about it, they would own all the traffic, they would own all the information. So they're setting up a precarious precedent. And what's striking is the same group of people, ideologically aligned group of people, are suing Hungary in the European Union because Hungary simply stood up and said, we don't want foreigners illicitly interfering in our...
Yeah, so the problem with this is that in terms of the law, Barnes and Viva Fry are absolutely right, okay? What they're saying is, yes, this is terrible. This whole John Doe thing is terrible. All of it's terrible. But what they're getting completely wrong about is they go on to talk about it as if somehow having the domain name be transferred to Microsoft means that they have now sort of have all the information about the website, all of the data that's going to it, all of the data that's in it, that somehow that's like seizing the website. And it's not. The website has all these different pieces to it. I mean, ultimately, it's a bunch of servers that serve up web pages. Right. How do you find those servers? You have a name in the form of a URL. And that URL has a host name part of it. That has to be turned into an IP address. Seizing the host, basically the registration for the website, all that does is it makes it so you can shut it down. It does not give you access to all of their traffic. It does not give you access to all of their information. It doesn't do any of the things the way they're talking about it, but it does give you a means of shutting them down or redirecting those things to a page where you can say, oh, by the way, we seized this because you were getting hacked or something like that. But it absolutely does not give you access to other things because there's another component here. When you go to a website, it'll be HTTPS. That means there's a secure server certificate associated with it, which means that Microsoft can't necessarily just pretend to be somebody else, even if they intercept all the traffic. So it's so much more complicated about this. And this is a little bit frustrating because they're so right about all the legal part of it, but they don't understand what they're talking about in terms of the implications of the technological thing. And this just makes me want to spurg out and start screaming at the screen because I'm like, you're so close to having good content here, but because you don't understand what you're saying, you're ruining your own story. Mm-hmm. And I know this is a me problem, but it's just a little frustrating that lawyers have to deal with this stuff that they just don't understand. You know, and it's clear. I mean, these are nice guys; they're not stupid or anything, but they do not know what they're talking about.
Why they should have someone like you or you on their show to like be like, okay, so how does this work? And then they could suss out how the law would interact with the reality of what is a website, what is a domain,
Yeah.
you know, ISP and all this other stuff that they clearly don't know anything about, which is fine because that's not their wheelhouse. Their wheelhouse is the law. But once they become educated on a topic like the domains, they could then suss out the pertinent legal information.
Yeah, I have actually consulted for a law firm before, and I only did it once. And the way I think about it, it probably should have been something that happened a lot more times. You know that they're just going to start looking stuff up on AI, and AI gives garbage answers to almost everything. AI is not going to give you a good answer to this sort of stuff. Lawyers really should probably more often than not do their homework about stuff. But in the internet age where people spontaneously just want to produce content, right? They want to get it out while it's hot and fresh. This news, so they jump on it right away. Here's a thing that happened earlier today. They don't take the time to do the due diligence to understand the thing they're talking about because reasons.
They're more content creator now than lawyer.
Yeah, but they didn't end up seizing the websites. What they did was they seized a way to basically shut down the websites. That's all they seized. And going into the comments, because I think I made some comments here, and people were talking about, it was in Discord. They're saying, well, .ru domains should only be run by Russia. Well, they weren't .ru domains. But the people even in Discord don't understand how internet domain name stuff works. It used to be that the U.S. government basically ran the internet in terms of naming. But now it's run by a thing called ICANN, and all the top-level domains, you know, .ru, .us, .com, whatever, all have their own bodies that have a fair amount of autonomy in terms of how they set these things up. Who gets to register? How much does it cost? All of that sort of stuff. You know, it's actually decentralized and international, and we don't control all this stuff. So them going to a registrar who's like in the U.S. where they have domains, basically a domain name registrar in the U.S., and forcing them to transfer that domain to somebody else in violation of the international agreements is really, really sketchy. But I don't think Viva and Barnes understand it well enough. Mm-hmm. Hey, if Viva ever wants to talk to me to get background on stuff, I mean, I'd be happy to talk to him every now and then and just answer questions for free. I don't mind. But it's like, man, the law just can't keep up with technology, I guess is the point I'm clumsily trying to make.
Oh, no, it's been pathetically...
It's never.
2 generations behind at best of the burgeoning technologies that we've been integrating into everyday life. Like, we still don't have clear defined law for the internet and cell phones, and like people are always trying to like apply the old laws to it, but then other people are saying, well, no, it's not the same thing, so it's not applicable. Like, and they're playing this cat and mouse game where they're both a mouse pretending to be a cat, just chasing one another, and nothing ever gets done. But, I mean, that's the modern era.
Yeah. Well, it is frustrating, and honestly, I wouldn't, if some lawyer wants to just throw an hour or two at consulting at me, I'll be happy to explain this stuff to you.
Also, Assassin, ICANN does not control the internet. ICANN controls domains. Hi, Spud Gun. That's not the same thing, and Obama didn't give it away. It was more of the intention of, hey, we're going to try to make this as neutral as we frickin' can, because otherwise everyone's going to
government entity.
Yeah, otherwise they're going to do what they always do with America, which is accuse us of being the fault of the world and not acknowledging us for the stuff we've actually done.
Well, why would we?
I gave him credit for, but
yeah, it was actually.
I at the time even said it's a good temporary measure, but that means that there needs to be more.
Oh, agreed.
Surrounding, like we were just talking about law and structure and how we're going to deal with this stuff and regulate it, because if you want to connect the United States to Cambodia, you can't have 2 sets of conflicting laws. There has to be some sort of middle ground where people can kind of yes, do you want to ban pornography in Cambodia? Fine, That's fine. That's your end user thing. But you can't say that somebody in the United States can't view the pornography, like, kind of thing.
Of course, the French are the ones who destroyed the world for
Well,
everybody.
it's
Absolutely.
like
Anyway,
it's like states' rights. Okay.
Yeah.
Why would you want to have like one Department of Education deciding everything when you could have 50 incubators of innovation in the United States? Decentralization is much better. So, for instance, what interest does the U.S. have in making rules about how Tuvalu.tv hands out domain names to people? Now, Tuvalu's made a whole bunch of money because people want to get domains at Indian.tv. They're not in Tuvalu, but that's just, sometimes life hands you like a nice big gift. And Tuvalu got a nice big gift because their top level domain name is .tv. But there's no interest.
.fq?
Originally, when the internet started, it was all basically stuff in the US, and you had a few top level domains. You had .mil, which was the military one, which still exists.
Yep.
And you had .com, you had .net, .edu, and
.org.
And .org, yeah, for nonprofits. And those were all the top level domains, and almost everybody was on those was in the US. Later, it went on to become like this huge international thing, so you ended up with .uk and all stuff. But we have no interest. We don't care what the UK does with their domain names, or Tuvalu, or the Maldives, or anybody else. So getting out of the way of something that's just like a huge, annoying, unpaid obligation is actually good. Let them run their shit. We still run our shit. It doesn't impact us in any way to give that stuff up.
Yeah.
And if they tried to jerk our chain, we would just replace them in a day. We could totally do it. Would be so easy to replace the whole internet, the domain name stuff, if we wanted to.
Well, and the thing is like it's like any expert, air quotes experts anymore, who like Viva Fry or Barnes or even Dr. Mike, once you become an internet personality where most of your, or at least a good portion of your money is coming from the internet, I no longer trust you as a experienced source, because there is the whole being not entitled, indebted to the people who are paying you more money, and I don't trust that because you have favoritism. It's going to happen. You're going to be and it's like, I respect the fact that you all got your law degrees. I highly doubt some of you are still running practices, or if you are, they're done by the partners, not by you.
Yeah, always go the Recator route.
Yeah, well, I'm feeling Viva Fry and Barnes aren't too far behind. But it's one of those things. When it's, I hope not, but considering how the internet works on some people, but it's one of those things where it's kind of like, I mean, you're right, Harry. Like, people care more about getting ahead of the story than actually waiting for the story. And it's, a lot of the stuff gets misinterpreted. They don't know what they're talking about. As someone who had to work on the business side of a internet service provider, I know more about ICANN than I really want to know. And it's just, there's just a lot of, like, and Functional was right too. The laws are too far behind, so a lot of these lawyers don't know what they think they know. They assume either by past laws or by just their own political leanings that certain things are a certain way. ICANN is just like the filing system, basically. That's all it is. It's where everything's filed. You have to go after GoDaddy or the plethora of other domain name providers out there that are like the third parties in order to do any of this stuff.
Well, ICANN sets some basic rules, and the main thing that ICANN does is they decide if a new top level domain is going to be created. And if so, who's going to run it? So basically, it's like opening a charter school, right?
Yeah.
It's like the top level domains are sort of like, oh, okay, we're going to create our own thing, and here's the rules by which it's going to be run. And you go to ICANN and say, okay, did we dot all the I's and cross all the T's? Did we do all the things? Oh, yeah, well, you forgot to say, who's the board of directors for this thing and what your election process is. Fine. So they just make you do all your club paperwork. That's all they do. That's all ICANN does, is basically just sort of make sure that all the little clubs, essentially top level domains, do their paperwork. And it's not that big a deal. Then the individual ones come up with the rules. Like, I couldn't register a .mil domain if I wanted to. Why? Because I'm not eligible. And who decides that? The people that run the .mil domain. Is that ICANN? No, that's a group of people that function independently of ICANN, right?
Also,
I mean,
everybody in chat say night to Sora. She's fading fast. Say
oh,
night,
sorry,
night.
Sora. She's gonna
Good night, everyone.
go.
Bye.
I'm sure you're being attacked by a dog at the same time. Go lay down.
She's gonna be sad. She's gonna miss the last
it just
thing.
hit me like a ton of bricks. But
Well, you're
thank
still
you,
getting-
thank you, Harry.
You're
Still
welcome.
Getting over jet lag. Go
I'll
lay
send you
down.
the link to the last thing, which I think is funny, and I know you will too. You can watch it tomorrow morning.
Yes, please.
Okay.
I will watch it tomorrow. Good night, everyone.
Bye.
Night.
Bye.
Yeah, I shouldn't get so worked up about this internet stuff, but it kind of annoys me. When the internet was young and fresh, what you would do is you would send an email to somebody in the .mil organization and say, I would like to have this domain name belong to me. And then they would just give it to you. And you were only supposed to have one. So I only registered one at the beginning. And I literally registered, and my internic handle, which is what it was called, is like internic.something.mil. Anyway, was my initials. 3 letters. It was my initials. My first domain cost me nothing, and my handle was my initials.
There you go.
That's how easy it was. And then later they started charging like 50 something bucks. And then it quickly grew to the point where some guy answering mail who worked for the US government was in no position to run the internet. And so they started expanding out and getting out from under all of just this BS that does nothing for us by creating ICANN is fine, because we still control the top level domains that we care about. And that's all that matters. So let's see. Oh, well, we should probably show the final thing since we're actually at the 2-hour mark. I just found it to be fun.
Oh yeah.
Okay. It's just a little bonbon.
Our little friend here has already got shot twice and is clearly aware that he's been shot. We're gonna give him one more chance.
Air shot cheater.
Right in the nuts.
Now pretend you weren't shot, you asshole. This guy was cheating at Airsoft by not acknowledging that he'd been shot. So the guy scoped him and shot him in the balls.
Nice.
I love it. I think this is why you really need to have paintball stuff, because I think it would be great if he was just peppered with colored paint.
Well, that's the thing I never fully understood about Airsoft. It's like, oh, you have to call out if you're shot. It's like, no. If I'm going to play a game where I'm shooting people and it's not laser tag, I'm marking people. Like, we're not doing this. Because it's too easy for people to cheat.
This is slow motion. I'm such a child.
It's okay, Harry. It's okay.
It's like, oh, you want to pretend you didn't get shot? Fine. Here, how about I just shoot you in the nuts?
I'll leave you marked.
I'll leave you marked. All right, we're all tired. I'll tell you more. I think we'll end the show and I'll tell you guys more about Sweatpants Joe Biden because it's hilarious.
There you go.
All right. Anyway, this has been your Menus of the Zoo for Saturday. Thank you, panel. Thank you, chat. We're all very sleepy. Go out and look at the comet tomorrow, everybody. Good night.